Listeners, it's time for another AI update with Pavan Agarwal, who is a dear friend and someone that I am enjoying working with more than I can begin to tell you. Pavan, thanks so much for being a sponsor of the podcast. Thank you for inviting me not only in to work with you, but like we were saying, I very much feel like a part of your family. And so I share that with people because I go, everyone's saying, Dave, you're really all in on this. I mean, you really get enthusiastic. Yes, I do. And listeners, I'm thanking you so much for so many of you saying how good these AI updates are. So Pavan, we're reaching people. They're listening, and I'm excited to share some really exciting news that you launched or announced and did a big major press release there in Las Vegas. So let's get into it. It's really talking about the valuation. You did a press release and that you came out. Everyone's talking about they're spending all this money that they're spending on AI. You have invested over $100 million of your own money out of pocket, already invested. This is not, you're looking for capital to build this. You've already built this. And it's got an impressive valuation by one of the most credible places. So let's start with, first of all, I want to throw out the headline number, and we're going to talk about who did the valuation to establish the credibility of this valuation. So throw out the number, Pavan. Drum roll.
It's about $120 billion.
$120 billion. It is a staggering number. You've invested $100 million, and you have built something that's now worth $120 billion. That's amazing. Now let's talk about who did the valuation. So this isn't a number you made up. You hired one of the more conservative, most respected firms to do the valuation. Talk about that.
Yeah, it's a company called Lykken and the owner's name is Daniel Drolet. And he is a specialty firm that really works for Silicon Valley. And all he does is value IP portfolios. Okay, so
wow.
And
he's done he's done a lot of these. I remember meeting the guy when in Las Vegas at another one of your events, when he first started the process working on it, and he was extremely enthusiastic about what you're doing.
Yeah.
But he's done a lot of some of the biggest valuations that are out there in the industry.
Yes, and he also is the engine behind Dun and Bradstreet. So when DNB,
hey, what? I did not know that. That is something I did not know.
So when DNB does a valuation, it goes to his engine. And like one of his biggest clients is Universal Records, and so he values their entire collection of music portfolio collection, for example.
Wow.
So he's got incredible reach and credibility in the industry. It took, a long search process before we settled on selecting him to do the valuation.
And why? I mean, other than the fact that he's probably notably one of the top people that does that, what else was unique about why you selected him?
He understands AI really well, and he understands how intellectual property works. It's a whole different, like intellectual property is good for what? Copyrights are good for 130 years or something like that.
So he understands intellectual property. He understands AI. That's the most important part of this, because this is all new. To form a valuation of $120 billion. Yeah. I mean, it's so new. How credible is that valuation? And I'm talking to the guy who received it. So, but I think it's important. You selected him. I know that the intentionality that you do, Pavan, in selecting this person. I think it's important to have that conversation. So those listening to this.
It's rock solid, because his reputation would be ruined, right? And companies trade on his valuation, right?
Yeah.
And big IP portfolios trade on his valuation, so he can't just go out and make up a valuation. And in fact, quite frankly, he said he had to deeply undervalue it in the report, just because he wanted to be safe.
So the $120 billion, well, it's actually $119 billion valuation is a conservative value.
He deeply discounted it.
So that isn't a hype value.
It's not.
That's pretty amazing. What was the reason? What got him to that value, Pavan?
Yeah. Well, first it's the intellectual property that's contained, and that's, for anybody who's building tech and doing a startup, my advice to you is don't underestimate the value of the intellectual property. If you start with first principles, if you build tech on a good foundation, it's going to last forever. I mean, this is not perhaps the best example, but if you think about the servicing systems out there like Black Knight and so forth, right? Those are old COBOL programs, written in the 60s, right?
Right.
And
So they're still here.
They're still in use today. I mean, perhaps they shouldn't be, but here we are, 60 years later, and that intellectual property is still printing money, right? So it's like with any asset. If it's not managed properly, it'll be ruined. But if you manage it properly, and if you build it properly, like let's say own a real estate portfolio, right? But if you built it on a foundation built of sand, it's going to collapse. Right. But if you built it on bedrock, it's going to last a lifetime.
And so let's talk about the bedrock you built this on. You took over your dad's company. So good to see your mom, and what a wonderful family you have. But you built this on what your dad started. Gosh, was it 40 some years ago now?
1980.
40.
Yeah. 45,
1980. Wow.
Years.
45 years ago. So we are now you've built all this technology based on that. So that's the rock solid data. This is on loans that how many loans did you say you have run through the system now?
And there's two ways to look at the number. Since 2019, when the platform was AngelAi was running end to end,
right?
That's 200,000 loans, $35 billion.
35 billion, 200,000 loans have been run through the system already.
Yeah, but in total, it'll be over 500,000 loans. Like, because the platform was developed in pieces over 25 years, maybe longer.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
So when we first vectorized the data, which is the core of the AI, that was in the mid 90s. Okay.
You said vectorized. Is that what you said?
The data, yeah.
Yeah, can you explain what vectorized for those of us that are neophytes in this? What is vectorized?
Yeah, so vectorizing the data means, actually, I would recommend everyone to take a look at the white paper that we published along with the valuation. Yeah, and so the white paper is written by one of our researchers, as a person on our team. And,
well written.
And he explains in scientific detail what vectorized means. But in a nutshell, it's representing all the data of a loan file, okay, as a vector in a series of, which is a series of properties, right? Like loan amount is a vector, right? And it has properties like it affects your lending limit, it affects your ratios, and it affects your payment, and it could affect adjustments, right? If you can have adjusters for small loan amount, big loan amount, right? It affects guidelines. So all of those different things that a loan amount affects, right? If you take all of those properties together, you can represent it as a vector, right? And when you change the loan amount, then it has an effect on your ratios, it has an effect on your cash to close, and so forth. And so there's what the technical term is, an attention mechanism going on, where one data point affects another data point, and there's a relationship. There's a number, there's a weight that says how much it affects each other with. And if you vectorize it, then when you change one thing, right, and you have those weights and you have the relationships between, say, loan amount and ratios, okay, then you change the loan amount, then you can immediately reflect the change in the ratios, right? And that's the core engine of AngelAi. That was written in the 90s. Okay, so in order for,
that's an important distinction. That's a really important distinction. So we have seen coming the newcomers coming to the platforms. I mean, I'm sure it's just so important to understand just how well based your technology is. It's based on 500,000 loans.
Yeah,
it's just staggering.
Yeah, exactly. And so I mean, you can, and that's what the world is trying to is racing for, is saying, okay, let's take AI and put it as a layer on top of an existing database. So the world is trying to find a way to make money with AI now. They trillions of dollars have gone into it, but can't figure out how to make
Very
money
few
with
of them
it
actually make money. Yeah.
because they're trying to layer. You're trying to layer ChatGPT on this database, and like, hey, this is hard. You can't, because you're taking a chance of messing up the database because you don't know what the AI can do, right? You don't want the AI if you plug ChatGPT to your loan origination system, and it hallucinates the ratios of the cash to close, you're going to have a big trouble. Right?
Yeah, big problem. Yeah. Yeah, very, very good.
Yeah.
So we got a little insights into all that's gone into that. Let's talk about the event that you threw was amazing. Yes, it was an amazing party, but who was there and who you had speaking there? There was so many people all over the spectrum. I mean, there were sports celebrities. But the delegation from Japan, talk about that. You have really captured Japan's interest as a nation in AngelAi. Speak to that.
So we did a press release about 3 months ago, maybe longer, maybe 6 months ago, where we announced our partnership with the Japanese investment group and
yes, we did.
Japanese investment bank. And so it's basically three main partners, each of them are billionaires, and they wanted to invest their money in the U.S. real estate market, and they've been looking for the right. Obviously, they wanted safe, and they wanted good returns, right?
Right.
So it's pretty much all over the world is understood. If you want safe and you want solid returns, you're going to put the money in U.S. real estate.
Yep. And U.S. housing. Yep.
Yeah,
nothing better than real estate. I mean, the commercial markets, maybe not so much, but certainly the residential housing market is one of the most secure.
Yeah, exactly. It's got its ups and downs, but in the long run, right? As long as and this is long-term stable money, so that means they're not afraid. Like if there was a dip in the housing market, like Vegas is a little empty, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it's a little scary, Vegas being empty. Vegas is always the early indicator of the rest of the country, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're potentially headed towards a downturn here in the markets, but they're still bullish because they're long-term capital, so they're not concerned about short-term dips in the housing market.
They're buy and hold.
They're just hold. Right.
Yeah. I mean, the macro, if you look at the fundamentals underneath our residential housing industry, it's really quite solid. We were listening to Mike Fratantoni speak. We talked about this on a podcast where Mike Fratantoni was talking about it's a stable market. It's not one that's going down. It was interesting talking about, I'd love to get your opinion on this. He says by 2030, our population, we're going to actually potentially be going into negative population growth in America, and that long term could have an impact on our housing. Japan has already gone through that.
Yeah. I was. It's interesting. I was in Singapore for Token 2049 last year, and on center stage I said, "Everybody, please have more babies."
Yes.
And the comeback to that. Was that no, it's not necessary because we're in the world where AI will do all the consumption. We're an AI to AI world. Literally. There's no fun if my AI is consuming for me. There's no fun.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And I want to get into that because in my next podcast with you, I really want to get into that because we was talking about Angel Twin and how the two technology, how your twin and my twin will be talking, how you'll have multiple twins talking and developing there. But that's what we're going to do. That's a teaser for our next podcast. So the event came in $119 billion valuation. It's based on 25 years worth of work and over 100 million invested in the business, what you've done. It's been a patient, long, arduous process. Why is what you built, Pavan, so much more secure an evaluation than what we're seeing being released by so many out there?
Okay, because if you take a look at the headlines right now. Sam Altman just went out and said that, and he just completely changed his position. Right, I got the exact quote from Google. So Sam Altman admitted that he was previously wrong about vertical integration into OpenAI. Right, so what does that mean? Vertical integration means that AI is vertically integrated into a single industry, into a single business process. Okay, so up until this month, he was saying, no, you don't need to do that, and AI can on its own just learn every other industry. Okay, and then this month he said the opposite. He realized that's not going to happen. Right. So the race for what they call artificial general intelligence just made a major shift. Right. And essentially, this is equivalent to him admitting that artificial general intelligence is not happening, at least not happening anytime soon.
That is, and
Right.
what's the implications of that? I mean,
what's the implication is that we were right all along. We've been right for decades.
yeah, you were right. So what you've been building is, yeah, it's
Right,
important
right.
to, yeah.
Yeah. So,
And I think a lot of people bet on general intelligence, and that is
exactly.
turning out to
when
be.
you bet on artificial general intelligence, that means you're betting on mega GPU farms, huge nuclear power data centers, and with the hope that you can throw enough data at it that it can start to think and figure out, complex things like FHA qualifying analysis, reading a bank statement, analyzing a bank statement. Right. The idea is if you throw enough GPUs at it, it'll figure that out on its own. But here's the wake-up call with Sam Altman making this admission like this month. Right, he's basically saying no, that's not going to happen.
Which means what is going to happen as a result of it? People have got to go back to the drawing board and do what you've been doing for the last 25 years.
Which means you got to start with the first principle fundamentals and take a look at your database and take a look at how your data is managed and stored and dealt with, and you got to vectorize it like we did 20, 25, 30 years ago.
Wow.
It's
all right.
Yeah, because it means that your data in your database, I'll put it another way. Here's a simple way to understand vectorized data. The data in your database becomes a part of the AI. It's not separate from the AI. It's not like you can have your chat GPT layer on top of your data. No, it means your AI and your data is one unit. It's one entity. Right. So that it means that the
right.
AI is your data is the AI. It's a completely different way of looking at things. And that means, if you're spending a lot of money putting up big data farms and trying to get your AI to process your loans, you're doing something in that architecture is theoretically impossible to do that in that architecture. You can get close. You can simulate something to that nature, but you'll never be able to do what we're doing, which is issuing warranted answers. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And
we literally let the AI do its thing. We literally say, here's the bank statement and go do it. What that means is, if you're spending a lot of money trying to train an LLM to answer questions and analyze income and all of these things, you'll get something and it'll be helpful, right? But for you to be able to run the system hands off and just say, here's 1,000 loans, go analyze it, and it'll just go do its thing completely autonomously, it'll never happen. You can simulate things. It could be the farthest you'll be able to get it is for it to be a good co-pilot, but it'll never be a pilot.
Well, that's got to be reassuring to many people listening to this. From the standpoint, a lot of people are concerned that AI is going to put them out of work, eliminate their jobs. That's not true.
Well, I again, it's the architecture, right? And the question was why did we get such a large valuation?
Yeah.